Just show up. Be there when you say you're going to be there. Be on time. Be prompt. Your birthday's not a fucking holiday. Okay. No one cares. No one cares. Show up every day. And the number two, the best advice I could give anybody, tell people what you want to be. Tell them, I want to do this, or I'm going to do this. Because if you tell enough people, at some point in your life, it may be 5 years down the line, it may be tomorrow, there will be someone that says, oh, we're looking for that. And that person in their mind will say, hey, I got the guy, I got the girl, I got the person that wants this. Hey, let's try that person. So be vocal in what you want and show up. Show up, be early, be prompt, be on time, be courteous, be nice, really be nice. That's, there's going to be people that aren't nice and don't cry and crawl up into a ball and call mommy when it doesn't work out. And that's what Hollywood's doing now. It's so funny with all these television shows. Like, Ellen was so mean to me. I had TV producers. I worked at Entertainment Tonight. I had producers that were the meanest women in the world. Okay. Did I ever cry and go, she yelled at me and she told me to, go walk 5 miles to the story, which I have had to do before. The New York blackout's a great story. I have to tell you that one sometime. But I've had some really mean, had to beat me down. But at the end of the day, I pull back the lens. They all made me better.
This is The Dose of Positivity, hosted by the one and only Mike Diamond.
All right, this is The Dose of Positivity. I am so stoked today. I have my good friend for over 20 years, Chris Booker. I will give you plenty of information before the episode of who Chris is, because we're going to jump right into this. And I haven't seen him in so long, and I'm so happy right now. How are you, brother?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me on, man.
Dude, it's so good. I mean, when was the last time you spoke to Kane?
I talk to him all the time because he's still, radio person. So us radio people, we're kind of a tribe, and we all, we all talk to each other periodically. So probably like, I don't know, a month ago, maybe.
I went on his show, the Corey and Kane show.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, because he's like, how long have I known you for? I said, we want to get real. I said, like 20 years. He's like, man. When? I said, we met at Chaos.
That's like, where I met you. The first time I met you was through Kane at Chaos. I believe we were being thrown out and you got us back in.
That's what he goes. He goes, do you remember that situation? Oh, yeah, sorry. Where he goes, you got us back in. We were thrown out. You got us back in. And I was like, dude, sorry, let me just turn this off. And I was like, yeah, it was nonstop. But that was, we were trying to talk about Snitch and the chaos of what was New York. Like,
New York was such a fun place. We were there for the end of the fun of New York, I believe. I don't believe Manhattan is having the fun that we had anyhow. I mean, the Lower East Side was alive and vibrant and fun, and it was still affordable and interesting. People could still be in Manhattan. And that whole artist downtown dangerous sort of vibe has disappeared, and it's all bankers and boring people.
Sucks. So let's go all the way back, Books. Where did you start? So now I'm going to fill in people earlier in the, when the show starts of, being a radio DJ for 20 years, 30 years, like 30 years, right? A VH1 host and everything. But where did it all start for you? Were you born in New York, or where did it start?
No, I grew up in West Virginia. I was poor, to be honest with you. I came from a trailer park in West Virginia. I didn't think I would ever get out of a place like that. And radio really punched my ticket for me, just sort of falling into that career. But yeah, I had a friend that was...
Books, hold on 1 second. So were you... All right, when you say... West Virginia. I just went to West Virginia. Like, that's just crazy. But what were you doing at high school? Were you good at high school? Did you study? Where did the inspiration come to be a radio guy?
I think I was a horrific student. I was a C to D student at best. I didn't like to study. I wasn't very good at it. I was into the arts, if you will. Like, I liked acting. I fell into that like my freshman year of high school. I turned out I was actually pretty good at that, except for memorizing my scripts and such. I was never good at that. I stressed that every single performance. But yeah, and I had a love for music. My thing was music, and I had the radio on. I slept with the radio on. There was no time of day that the radio wasn't on. So I guess I was being programmed and trained much before I even had the thought of even being inside of a radio or speaking to people on the radio. So I just had a love for it, and the love of music was really it. And I was lucky enough to have a friend that was on the radio locally, and it just sort of fell into place where I took a overnight weekend job while I was in college, and it just stuck, and I haven't looked back.
What were you doing in college?
Drinking. No, college for me, I didn't have
studying. What were you studying?
Communications. I did study communications.
Oh, okay.
But
so it makes sense. So it was
yes,
relevant. It wasn't like you were studying pre-med.
No, I don't think I would have been eligible for any of those programs. Communications for sure. I think I could have been, but I was a terrible student, and it wasn't for the lack of trying even in college. I just didn't have time. I worked at a clothing store. I did overnights on the radio, and I was a full-time student living in the dorms. I was like, if you'd see the 80s movies where there'd be like some kids sleeping all of the time in the middle of a party, that would be me. It'd be Friday nights, and the entire, all the doors of the dorm would be open, and I would be the guy that was dead to the world sleeping, because it was the, first 4 hours in a row I could get of sleep.
Oh, wow. So books, so you get this night gig. When did you make the transition in New York? And then, because like you were on K-Rock forever, you were the guy. Like and this is for people listening. This is when I say the guy. This is Howard Stern era. This is the real.
I was going to say he was the guy. We were the ancillary characters.
You know what I mean? But everyone has a podcast now and tries to be cool. You were doing the podcast thing. People are like, oh, Joe Rogan. I'm like, dude. Booker and that were doing it 20 years ago before Joe Rogan. He was at the Comedy Store trying to get a gig. So how did the transition happen? How'd you get to New York?
Well, I went from a small station in West Virginia. I took a job in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Myrtle Beach took me to a smaller market, believe it or not, in Florence, South Carolina. I went back to Myrtle Beach. I moved to Kansas City. I moved to Pittsburgh after that, Pittsburgh to New York. Bounced around a few stations in New York, went to Philadelphia, went back to New York, moved out to California about 12, 13 years ago. So it's been quite a journey.
Wow. And then New York for how many years? Because I knew you when you're at the peak.
I think I did. I know I lived in New York for a total of 13 years. I believe I was on the radio for maybe 7 or 8 of those years. A couple of years I disappeared to do television, but I was still doing part-time radio somewhere or on Sirius, or I never really stopped doing radio. I just wasn't on, K-Rock, if you will.
How did how is this transition? Because we were before social media. I remember saying to someone in 2006 when we had Snitch, and you were there. You were there every night.
We always were there.
Plug me on the radio for free every night. We did the best New Year's Eve party together.
I remember those. I mean, I vaguely remember most of those nights, but I do remember that New Year's Eve party. That was like the most. You couldn't get away with having a party at a place that packed anymore. The fire marshal would come. I mean, we were stacking people up at that place that night. It was
remember
insane.
The night someone asked me, they're like, because this is a crazy story. I have 16 years of sobriety in April, and I mentor Scott Weiland's son now. Which is crazy, right? He was like 4
Full circle.
when Scott was in the bar. Crazy. So 16 years sober, me of all people.
That blows my mind. just knowing the stuff that we did and the things that we were up to back then in our crazy 20s. It's
but like when you think back on that. if I can get 16 years, anyone listening can get 16 years. Like the crap
100%.
that we used to do,
100%.
we had our foot on the gas every night. There was no, it was amazing.
Well, you were always a bright guy. Even wasted, you were still pontificating on something, and always a very intelligent, bright guy. And I was always like, is it the accent? Maybe it's just the accent. I'm like, no, what's coming out of his mouth is actually pretty intelligent. So, yeah.
Dude, I got to talk with it. So you're going to love this. So Kane goes to me, you'll love this. Kane goes to me, whatever happened with your VH1 show with Wyland? And I'm like, Booker was in it. He's like, no. I go, Booker had a really big role. And I'll tell you what happened. True story. They tested it and it tested really well. And between the testing period, I got sober. And I was like, ooh, like I'm like really fucked up. Scott Weiland's sidekick. You had this. I've got to show you. I've got the footage of you and Karen in the radio
come
station.
On, really?
I've got the footage. I swear to God.
I had forgotten that I did that. How about that? I forgot.
How's this? You're going to love this. You're going to love this. It gets better. You were great. Kane goes to me. Booker was in it. You call me up one day. I'm standing in the background waving at you and Booker, and the camera passes by and he goes, that's my claim to fame. I'm going to wave at Booker and Diamond in the show. Like,
he was in Sex in the City. He trumped everyone.
Oh, my God. Remember? And he was eating the KFC stone.
Yep.
Good times.
When I think back of those times, it's funny because I knew I was doing this morning, and in a wave of those memories, it started to come back to me, and just things that I'd forgotten. Like you just mentioning that reality show, that took me to, I know we shot something outside once. I know we shot something in a basement of a bar that I'd never been to, maybe in Midtown somewhere. Yeah. And it's things like that, like, you know, when you've done a whole career of media crap and seeing people, and you forget about these little things. And they were, when you go right back to that moment, you're like, man, those were such fun times. And flying by the seats of our pants. It was such an incredible time, right? Like you couldn't do it. I couldn't keep up with myself.
You know, it was special. And I said this some the other day, you were there when Velvet Revolver played at Snitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, what was special? There was no social media. There was no phones. If you were there, you were there. And
Right.
You looked around the room at each other and went, this is really cool.
Yeah, there was social media has robbed the world of spontaneity, and the element of surprise with everything. You know, there was no. If Scott Weiland was playing your bar, we didn't have camera phones. Okay, if someone happened to have a camera, maybe, but no one. You know, none of us deckheads were carrying cameras. No way. You were forced to be in the moment all of the time. You were forced to be present. Being present is a very, it's a great thing that's overlooked in the world now, because everyone sees something, they forget about where they are, and it's almost like they're trying to capture it for this moment that they're going to look at later. And then when you look at it later, you'll realize you didn't live in that moment. It wasn't fun for you. It wasn't exciting. And when you go back and you think about these times and they come across your memory, and I see your face and I'm like, man, I love this dude. I've always loved this dude. And that's a warmth that I just think that people are being robbed of today, because they're missing out on these such precious in the moment moments that are so important in life. And I feel bad for this generation that's just this all the time. And this virtual world that we're moving towards is scary.
Well, this metaverse thing as well.
Yes.
Like this whole detached like reality of like, but I have a conversation. Yeah, but no, you do it on the metaverse. I'm like, no. Like I'm having like
let's talk now.
Yeah, like I remember telling someone, I go, it's different for me. I really grew up in New York, in the sense of that's where I had to cut my teeth. And I said, like, I'm standing at the front of a club. It's 4 a.m. There's an Albanian guy threatening my life to get in at Chaos nightclub on Houston Street. There's no metaverse. This is reality. If I don't let him in, he may shoot me, stab me, whatever, right? We'll get in a brawl, whatever. I go, that's reality. Like I always say to people, the food is not the menu. Like in the sense of you can look at a burger, but until you suck the burger in, or you can look at something until you experience it. I go, you can't experience in a virtual world. Like you're losing actual context of life because you've got to go out and fail.
And to take it right, and to take it, that's the next part of it, the next step of it. When you have a generation of people that haven't fallen down, they're like, never. They've never experienced hardship. They completely melt down when things don't go their way, and the first reaction is call mommy and this is not fair and I'm triggered. It's like, oh my God, give me a fucking trigger. I'm triggered. What? Oh, you're supposed to feel bad this didn't work out for you, and it's supposed to make you stronger, and it's supposed to make you say, I'm going to try it differently. I'm going to hit it from a different angle next time, but I'm going to make it work. This whole coddled generation is very scary. And to take it to your point, where the metaverse is a scary place because you don't experience this stuff. It's all this fake plastic world that's not real. That's not reality.
I said to someone, they're like, I said to someone, there's two types of human beings, right? There's this, I call it the swimming pool and the ocean. So you came from the ocean. And what I mean by is that came from West Virginia for nothing. I came from Australia with nothing. And basically it's thrown into the ocean and it's sink or swim. You're around sharks, whales, savages, and you've got to learn to tread water. If you tread water, you'll be successful. You couldn't have come from where you've come and traveled where you've traveled to have the career you've had if you weren't from the ocean. Now,
I like that. I like that metaphor. That's nice.
Swimming pool, right? But there's a generation growing up in the swimming pool.
You're right.
Which means if you go into a swimming pool, there's no waves. It's a controlled environment. You get in and you get out whenever you want. Mommy, daddy brings you snacks, and it's safe.
And you've got floaties on top of it.
Right. But you see what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
An entitled kid from the swimming pool. And you put that kid up against a dog that survived on a bone in the ocean.
You're going to lose.
I always have this.
You're going to lose.
You know why?
Yeah.
If you don't do the work in the dark, you get exposed in the bright lights. Right? If you do the work in the dark, right? But
makes perfect sense.
People think that the career you've had on radio, like I said to Kane, I had to talk Kane the other day. I'm like, Kane, stop. What makes people confident and gives them self-confidence is not saying affirmations, right? I don't believe in affirmations. I'll tell you why. A tiger doesn't go to jungle school. A tiger doesn't have to reaffirm it's a tiger, right? You don't have to get up and say, oh, Chris Booker, I'm a great radio DJ. No, you know why? Because you put in 20 years.
Yeah.
So when you have skill, right, you're so good you can't be ignored. So I don't give a fuck if 50 kids make podcasts. I'm going to listen to you and Kane because you've done it for 20 years.
Yeah. There is a definitive difference of the people that have put in the old saying, the 10,000 hours, the work.
Yeah.
And there's an easiness to listening to someone that understands how to present information to you and the people that don't. And I always laugh when people say, God, radio's so easy. It's got to be so easy. You just sit in that room and you talk and you say, well, if you think it's so easy, come on up, try it.
Have at it, right?
You'll enjoy this. You'll love this, Diamond. I did this once. And this was actually earlier in my career. I was probably only 7, 8 years in. And I was working in Pittsburgh, and I was a total Stern wannabe, butthole on the radio, just hanging up on people. But I was starting to get good, and I was starting to understand how to fight with people, how to win every argument, how to just present my show the way I wanted to. And someone called up one night and gave that exact rap that you're terrible at this. Anyone could do this. I could come up and do your job. And I'd said this. Okay, I'll tell you what. What's your name? Guy's like, Bob. I go, Bob. I said, Bob, it's going to be the Bob Show tomorrow night from 9 to 9:15. I'm going to promote you. I'm going to run your board. I'm going to run the console. We're going to do anything Bob wants. We're going to have the Bob Show tomorrow night. It's going to be great, everybody. You got to tune in. just to hear how easy this is for anyone to do. So Bob comes rolling up to the station, cocky as could possibly be, just as he was on the phone. We sit down in a room. He's got a microphone in front of him, and I am a mute. I sit over there and I say nothing. And he looks at me and it hits him. What do I do? What do I say? And I said to him, Bob show, let's hear it. Come on. This is the palette I have every night too. What do I do? What do I say? But yet it gets done every single night. And you picked up the phone to call me, which tells me I did something right, my job. So Bob literally walked out of there 2 to 3 minutes of just awful, horrific, unlistenable radio, tail tucked between his legs, walked out like I had no idea. And I said, that's when you know someone's good. When you think it's easy and then you could do it, try it. It's not that easy. Anyone can talk, but not everyone can be interesting. And that's the difference.
You nailed it. You know what? It's funny you said that. So I remember when I was in LA and I was trying to sell a show when I left New York. Mm-hmm. And my agent at the time said, Gersh said, would you ever do stand-up comedy? I said, just book me. I'll figure it out. She's like, what do you mean? And she's like, I'm like, well, if I can't, I can't. If I can, I can. So I went to the comedy store and watched people do jokes. I said, I can do it. Don't worry, I'll write a routine. I'll do it. Book me. She wouldn't book me. So I got pissed and set up a show at the Pig and the Whistle down the street, called the comedy store, had an agent come to look at me. He scouted me. He said, I'm going to put you in the first slot. I said, no problem. So they put me in the belly room. I invited all my friends down there, in the club business. 50 people showed up. They go, have you ever done comedy? I said, don't worry about it. You'll love it. Because I studied everyone. I nailed it. They put me, the second show was in the main room, right? Mm-hmm. This guy came back, the guy that was booking the shows. Now, Rogan and the girl that's really famous with, what's her name? Whitney Cummings. They were in another room, the original room. And we were on the main room that night, and they'd circulate the acts, right? Everyone would go into a different room. This was 2009, 2010. So I nailed it. And this guy came up to me that worked for me in the club business, and he came to the show. He's like, you've never done comedy. I go, no. He's like, you just did a comedy show. I go, dude, either I'm going to be good or I'm going to suck. I've got to take that risk with myself. If I'm looking at people thinking I can do it, step in and do it. If you can't, shut up or get better. Don't say you can do it. Do you know what I mean? That's like when I ran the 30 half marathons, right? I ran 30 half marathons in 30 days after stomach surgery with a hernia, right? Mm-hmm. And I only did it because I'd made the challenge to myself. I'd ran one. I said I could run 30. Everyone's like, dude, you're going to die. And I ran it, and someone said, how'd you do it? I said, I just stood in it long enough and said, I got to figure this out if I commit to it. I'm not the smartest guy, but I'll commit. And like with radio, like I watch you guys and I watch all these other people, and I'm like, this is going to burn out. They're like, oh, I've got a podcast. I've got this. I'm like, no, I know the guys that have done it for 30 years. It doesn't work like this. It's so hard.
And it's a grind. That's the thing. Coming up with something every day and showing up somewhere every day, being in the right headspace every day, being able to park your entire problems of your world and to talk for 4 hours and stand there ready to go, 10 rounds or 4 hours worth every single day. It is a grind. It's a beating. But, if you love it,
where do you
get good
going?
at it.
Where's the future? Where's the future for podcasts? Where's the future for you online? Where does it go?
Who knows? I think it goes back to everything you said. If you're talented, you're talented. And if you know what you're doing, you'll find work. There's a finite amount of people, I think, that understand A, that it's a grind, and B, that can do the work every single day. And I had always thought, wow, at some point, this is going to peter out for me because there'll be some young, hungry kid behind me that's out there putting in the work. That's it's almost like watching an NFL athlete. They look at tape from 30 years ago and like, man, those guys are slow. Like those guys are these guys are magicians now because everyone ups the game. But it's weird in the broadcast game that hasn't happened. It's not. They haven't done a great job of looking for the next generation of broadcasters.
No, I think you just nailed something, Booker. You just nailed something I never thought of. So with sport, right, it's unlike, so the information era has created a bunch of people that you could be the toughest guy at the barbecue and then you could still fight in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
But in broadcasting, in law, TV is different because you can YouTube that all day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like in sports, you can't kind of fudge your way into the NFL or the NBA.
No, you will be outed. You will be outed for certain.
You can't, you know what I'm saying?
You can do one thing great. Well, it's baseball. Baseball players is a better analogy because there's so many guys that can sit there and say, I can hit a 100-mile-per-hour fastball, and they can. And you're like, how do you do that? Then they see the first hook, the first curveball that comes at them, and they duck and fall over, and they just can't understand it. You know, the guys that understand every aspect of that game. I mean, it's such a great game to me. People are like, baseball's boring. I'm like, then you don't know what's going on with baseball, or you've never played before. It is not a boring game. There's strategy going on in every single second and every single move. And to be able to do every facet of that game, you have to be truly talented. To your point, you have to you have to put the time in.
But I think you nailed it with the radio stuff. I think what's happened is people like because they're running the sprint and not looking at the marathon, and they don't realize that, like, to be a great film actor, you've got to study and you've got to put in the film work. You can't do YouTube every day. Now, of course, there's the Jake Pauls that get lucky to fight Mayweather. Right.
And there is the weird anomaly, too, of the person that is just, for whatever reason, the Jennifer Lawrence of the world, the freak that looks at acting and say, oh, I get that. Robert Downey Jr. or whomever, that just says, oh, that makes sense to me. I can do that. And they could do it like that. Those are freaks, though. Most of us out in Gen Pop, we're not freaks. We have to put so much time into anything and everything that we try to attain. And it's a grind.
I think that makes you recession proof, because I don't think the generation before us has the discipline and work ethic to pay the price. And
to our initial conversation of, that not putting it in and not being willing to fail. We get the kids, and I've seen them over the year. They come into the radio station and they're, their first part-time job, and they're looking into the studio on the first day, which is fine. You can look into the studio and say, I want to do that. But they truly, honestly believe, I'm interesting enough that I should be in there right now. And I'm looking at them like, no, I started overnights on the weekend running the board, and I used to run, wash the van. And I used to go out on things called pool patrols, where I would go out and hand cassettes out to listeners, and really while listening to the radio and the whole time and trying to figure out, like, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing? That's gone. It's that I need it now. And, not to rag on like Kardashianism of the world, but it's that, hey, they're doing nothing and there's obviously no skill there. That's just a family of people that have no talent whatsoever. Once again, everything's arbitrary. If you find that interesting, great. I don't rag on anyone that finds that interesting. No. But to debate if there's talent there or not, I'm sorry, there isn't. But there is a whole facet of this generation that believes that I deserve that because they were the anomaly. It's like, no. The cards were already stacked in their favor. Okay. They were here in Los Angeles. Your dad was an Olympic athlete. That you walked into this. One was a lawyer, famous on the OJ trial. Most people don't have that kind of resume in front of them when they've been given the world on a platter. That's an anomaly. That's an LA pipe dream. So, but when you get people truly believing and thinking like, wow, it's that easy, or I'm that interesting. This just in. No, you're not. You're just not.
But I think you nailed it when you just said I learned this great thing to be more interested than interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I just focus on other people now. Like, how can I help you? How can I be of service? Am I bringing value to you?
Mm-hmm.
Is what I'm doing bringing value to you? So if I come back to me, and where it shifted for me in my sobriety was like, well, if I can inspire people, educate people, and motivate people, right? And you read my first book. I just got a book deal for my second book, right? The publisher was amazing. 15 rejections, 2 agents say, he said, you know why I'm giving you a book deal? I said, no. He's like, because you're not writing for yourself. I can tell you, you're figuring out who your audience is, and you're telling real stories, and you fuck up a lot. And because you make so many mistakes, people need to know. And there's another thing, like I try to tell people, is like, people look at a snapshot of someone's life, and they do the highlight reels, and it's all bullshit. Mm-hmm. And they live in comparison. And I'm like, they don't live like that.
They don't.
It's all garbage. I get the calls when they're ODing. I get the calls when they're head, and we've been there with some of the biggest stars in the world going, dude, really? Wow. Oh shit. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, so there's a young kid sitting at home right now. He's listening to Chris Booker. He hears you on radio. He's like, I wish I was Chris Booker. I wish I had his life. If you're mentoring someone, first of all, did you ever have a mentor?
I don't know if I had a mentor per se. No, I wish I had. I wish I had a little bit more guidance, because I think there are some things I would have known better. There's some things I would have said yes instead of no to, or not poo-pooed on, or thought that wasn't cool. I think there was a lot of that in my career, but I try to be one as much as possible now. I mean, I'm always like trying to build up the kids.
So what
that
do you
are
tell a
around
kid
me.
now that wants to make it?
Number one, just show up. Be there when you say you're going to be there. Be on time. Be prompt. Your birthday is not a fucking holiday. Okay? No one cares. No one cares. Show up every day. And the number two, the best advice I could give anybody: tell people what you want to be. Tell them, I want to do this, or I'm going to do this. Because if you tell enough people, at some point in your life, it may be 5 years down the line, it may be tomorrow, there will be someone that says, oh, we're looking for that. And that person in their mind will say, hey, I got the guy, I got the girl, I got the person that wants this. Hey, let's try that person. So be vocal in what you want and show up. Show up, be early, be prompt, be on time, be courteous, be nice, really be nice. That's, there's going to be people that aren't nice and don't cry and crawl up into a ball and call mommy when it doesn't work out. And that's what Hollywood's doing now. It's so funny with all these television shows. Like, Ellen was so mean to me. I had TV producers. I worked at Entertainment Tonight. I had producers that were the meanest women in the world. Okay. Did I ever cry and go, she yelled at me and she told me to, go walk 5 miles to the story, which I have had to do before. The New York blackout's a great story. I have to tell you that one sometime. But I've had some really mean, had to beat me down. But at the end of the day, I pull back the lens. They all made me better. Every single one of them. They only did it because they wanted their show to be good and they needed me to be good. And inadvertently, I became better. So, and I think that, stop crying, stop whining. That person's hard on me. It should be. Anything you want, if it's easy, it's probably not worth it.
Well, if it's easy, everyone gets it as well.
Yeah, true. Everyone can do it. It's boring. Success. I think everybody, you look back on your life, it's not the successes, it's the times you fall down. Because when you fall down, the getting back up is fun. It's like, I'm going to do it. I'll figure this shit out. I'm going to understand this. And I remember the lows more than I remember the highs.
Yeah. And like you said, I think it's the lows that give us character.
Sure. I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no story unless there's a comeback. It's the hero's journey.
Yeah.
If you don't face that middle part when you go into self-discovery and you're like, well, who the fuck am I? And you get challenged, you're like, shit, how bad do I really want it?
It's true.
True. Life is handing me like 2s all the time. And I thought I was going to get aces. And I'm like playing this deck, like
another 3. Damn it.
Dude, another fucking 4. But what kind of deck is this? So
I remember more hands that I almost hit than the ones that I actually did.
All the time, right? It's always the one that got away. It's always like, dude, I was right there. And it's like, no, you weren't.
No, you weren't.
Right. What was that? There was a question I was going to ask you. All right. So people listening at home, it's important. Then I won't bug you anymore. You're a craftsman when it comes to articulating certain things on air, understanding information. When you get that information, also putting it out in a way that people can have an open perception. How does someone practice their craft of what you do, and what tips would you give them if they're starting out? And let's just forget the person that wants to take a shortcut. I'm talking about the person that goes, I really want a career in radio or broadcast, or actually to do podcasts seriously. What's their craft? What do they have to do?
Look at the things that are involved in anything you're doing. For me, it's language. First, so understand the human language, understand English, understand the language that you're using, know how to use it. A lot of people don't. A lot of people fumble that a lot. Know that, love it, embrace it. I would say that, and learn how to tell a goddamn story. That's all life is, I think, is listening to someone tell their story in a way that you want to respond to, or do you want to understand to, or do you want to be inspired by it? For a broadcaster, it's knowing how to tell a story. And I'll tell you a story with that answer. I remember once being on Stern. It was right when I came to New York, and Howard had asked me to cover some event where he was getting an award because he was never going to show up. And I went, and another broadcaster grabbed Howard's award and slammed it to the ground, and it was amazing. So I had to go on and tell the story. So I'm 24. I don't know how old I am, 24, 25. I've made it to New York, but I've realized, that was in little segments of talking and DJing. I didn't really, when the mic, when it was mine and the light was shining on me, I wasn't able to articulate the story as well as I should have been able to at that point. And Howard on the air threw me under the bus, said, "You have to learn how to tell a story, you idiot. Like, I sent you there." And he totally dressed me down. And it was heartbreaking. And yet he was 100% right. I couldn't tell the story as I just told it to you. I fumbled around, and this guy did this and that, and I spoke it too fast, and I was too nervous, and I didn't accept the moment and say, answer the question. It was asked of you, and tell the story. So learn how to tell your stories. Really do. Learn how to listen.
Yeah, you know what? You nailed that, because sometimes the power of a story, even in a bad situation, I've got out of situations by telling a story to allow someone to identify with a similar situation in their life. Mm-hmm. And then their perception changes. Mm-hmm. All I do in interventions is tell stories. That's all I do. Yeah. I don't actually, I know the person's high on drugs, and all I have to, someone said, "Oh, you save lives." I'm like, I can't save your life. I can give you information and intervene to help you make a better choice. And I can tell you stories about my past and great things that have happened to me by just making better choices. It's up to you if you want to walk into the treatment center, or if you don't want to. I'm still going to go to the next job. It's the truth. You know what I mean? I can't. But what you nailed is so beautiful, because people get, and what you just said is so beautiful as well, is don't get caught up in your own story that it's that interesting. What's more interesting to me is your story. You know what I mean? Even with this podcast, it's hearing where you've come from. I know you, but I know people are going to listen to go, "Oh my God, I got to it's just, it's so amazing." Well, I'm not going to keep you any longer. Where everyone can find you. No, you're not with Perez anymore. You've got your
own radio show. I still do a podcast with Perez Hilton. It's the Perez Hilton podcast with Chris Booker. You can download that. That's a very fun show, because that is two people with we're Siskel and Ebert. That's an old reference, but we are night and day. He believes all of the shit that's shoveled to him, and I refuse to believe anything. That's the show. This online fodder and the way that people think, and the fact that people are willing to accept the stuff that they're shoveled to them daily is endlessly fascinating to me. And I love doing a show about it. And someone just called me this morning and left a message, and they're like, "I hate Booker because he always disagrees with Perez." I'm like, well, he's wrong all the time. I don't know what else to tell you. He takes.
How did you get him? Being this is so good, but how'd you get at the show being such a polar opposite?
It's funny. I was filling in for somebody else on the radio where he did a segment, and him and it was like that from the first time, where he said something and I was like, well, I don't agree. I think it's probably like this. And at some point he was approached to do a podcast, and they brought all these women. They wanted to pair him with a woman, and he was like, and they said, at the end, well, what do you think? And he said, well, what about that guy that fills in for Carson Daly? He goes, I like that guy. He's funny. Like, and he never agrees with me that it'd probably be a good show. And that was 7 years ago. And we've done a show every week, sometimes two, for the past 7 years. So it's been a good run. Yeah.
So good. And what's the other one you just got?
I work at Alt 98.7. I just partnered with another radio veteran. His name's Stryker. And we're literally 12 days in on an afternoon show on Alt 98.7, which is on the iHeartRadio app. If you want to download that out of Los Angeles, we do afternoon drives. So yeah, and we talk about a myriad of stupid things every day.
So this is what I want people to understand. The reason you're successful and the reason we get along so well is because you're authentic. And you just proved it by not trying to be Perez. So don't follow these people that you think you need to follow. Be you. Mm-hmm. And Booker just said it like me. Booker's known me 20 years. I'm still this crazy, still the same
guy. Yeah, just without the booze.
Just without the booze and the cocaine. And I tell people as well, I'll still kick someone in the face, but it's a spiritual sidekick. So I've still got your back. I'm the guy to call if you need to bury your body. I'm Mike Diamond. I'm cool. I'll help you out in that situation.
You have the same energy.
I'll throw down with you if you're my buddy in the parking lot. It's the truth. I'm the same guy.
You're the same guy. It's one had alcohol in his breath. You're the same guy. It's the same person.
One had cocaine up his nose and alcohol. I need to get a picture of us so I can post it. Smile books. Oh, mate. Hold on. There you go. Dude, you are my favorite person in the world.
Diamond, I love you. You're the best. You're the sweetest guy you've always have been.
The New York days were the greatest days. Only a real New Yorker and people like us experienced. I miss you. I know you're in LA now. I'm out near Pasadena, Glendora, Pasadena. Mm-hmm. So when you get time, I'm going to come out, see you, have lunch. Man, I love you. Thank you for taking the time, Booker. You're the best, brother.
Thanks, Mike. I'll see you soon.
Bye, brother.
That was fun, man. Thanks,
dude. So good.
Good stuff.
Oh my god, I'll send you clips. I'll grab stuff for your bio and I'll put in a VO and we'll get it done. And oh man, I'm so happy for you. It's just so good to see you.
It's good to see your face. It's just good to hear your voice, and it just brings back so many memories and so many nights in that back kitchen, fucking shooting the shit about God knows what.
Dude, you know what? This is the best. You know what, Kate? I remember I told Kate on the show, I go, so Booker pulls me aside one night and he goes, Diamond, you have a kitchen. I go, yeah. And he goes, you don't have a chef. I go, we don't need a chef. All we do is cocaine in the kitchen. And he's like, what? And I was like, and he came and say, you're right. And we get there at 11 and leave at 4 and be like, where is everyone? I'm like, we never left the kitchen.
We would sit back in that kitchen forever.
Hours.
That dank ass kitchen. Yep. God, that was such a fun time. Yep.
It was the best.
Shovel.
And New York will never, ever be the same.
Nope. It will not. People are, the phone ruined everything. The phone's ruined the world. It really, truly has.
Well, it's like Zuckerberg. That guy is just not a good guy. I mean, the way the kids are now corrupted and mentally screwed up, it's just, that's what it is.
It's sad. I think it is sad. I think it's awful that no one is present anymore. And it's unfortunate. They're missing out on some really fun times interacting with other people.
You know what the worst thing, Booker, is they don't want to be present. That's the worst. We at least wanted to be around each other. And it's like someone asked me the other day, do you ever go on these apps? I mean, I've got to go on some apps just to
promote,
keep up,
whatever,
whether it's Instagram and whatever, because my books and that. But I'm like, I try not to, man. I'm old. I like to just deal with people in person. Mm-hmm. If you don't like me in person, you're not going to like me. You're not going to want to come see me speak. Like, this guy's a fucking crazy Australian. He's an asshole. Fuck
yeah.
But,
well, I love you.
Okay. I love you, man. I'll let you go. Thank you for taking the time. Hey, Books, if you can think of anyone that you think is cool that may want to shoot the shit on the show, there's no pressure. But if you go, oh my God, this guy would be perfect.
Okay.
It's all about being positive, fun stories, positivity, having fun, just giving away good information for people so they can get up the next day and know life's okay, because we live in a fucking world full of prats.
Agreed. We do.
It's like You got to tell people it's going to be okay and have some fun. Relax. Don't
Smile. Relax. Yeah. Just relax. Calm down. Everybody's all up in arms about everything. Like, it doesn't matter.
So
I just say it all the time. It doesn't matter. All this stuff that you people are getting cranked up about, it doesn't matter. Right? You're so sensitive. Triggered.
Triggered. Fucking swing. It's the swimming pool mentality.
I love the ocean. I did like that. That way that you put that out there. It's like it's just the jungle, pool. Same thing. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. The swimming pool.
That's where we're from. We were born up in the ocean, dude. We know how to swim. We know how to face adversity. We know how to survive. We're not going to drown. Get a kid from the swimming pool, I'll dunk him under the fucking water in the ocean, and he's done.
Sharks we're not afraid of sharks. We're just not. You know, it's like sharks.
We live with the sharks.
We live with the sharks. That's my neighbor. What's up? What up?
Killing the fish.
All right, I gotta go to work and pay for this crap.
Love you, brother.
Love you, Diamond. Take care, brother.
Bye, mate. Bye.
And that was your dose of positivity with Mike Diamond.